Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. I'm glad we're having the first markup together of the new Commerce Committee, and I'm looking forward to the next 2 years together. Today, we're going to be voting on 5 bills, and I'm grateful to Chairwoman Cantwell and her staff for working with me and my staff to move several bipartisan bills in this markup. 2 of the bills I want to briefly mention. First, I'm very pleased that we'll be marking up the Informing Consumers About Smart Devices Act, which is a bill that I introduced along with Chair Cantwell. This important bill will help ensure that the privacy and security of American households remains intact. As the number of smart devices found in homes steadily climbs, consumers deserve greater transparency about how these devices work and how they impact your privacy. Americans should know if their fridge is recording their family's words and movements, and they should know whether their virtual assistant is transmitting audio recordings of private family conversations. Second, I'm also pleased that we'll be marking up the Cadets Act, which I was glad to introduce with Senator Peters. This bill will help our state maritime academies, including Texas A&M Maritime Academy, to train more veterans so that they can continue to serve our nation as mariners. Last, let me say that I am glad to hear that the committee is delaying consideration of the nomination of Phil Washington. Phil Washington has been before this committee for some time now, and I think every member of this committee knows that Mr. Washington is not qualified for the position for which he is nominated. The head of the FAA is a specialized technical job that by statute requires someone learned in aviation. Mr. Washington has never flown a plane. He was never a military pilot. He was never a commercial pilot. He's never worked at an airline. He's never worked at the FAA. He's never worked as an air traffic controller. He's never worked at a company that manufactures planes. He's never worked at a company that repairs planes. One member of this committee commented to me very simply, "Nice man, not qualified." I think senators on both sides of the aisle here understand that's a serious problem. When millions of Americans trust the FAA to keep their families safe, we want someone leading the FAA with the expertise to do so. I also think the administration has an easy and clear path in front of it. Acting Administrator Billy Nolan has all of the experience that Mr. Washington lacks. He has decades in aviation. He has decades in aviation safety. He has multiple certifications in aviation safety. He's a pilot. He was the choice of President Biden to be acting administrator. So obviously the White House has some degree of confidence in him because they gave him the position of acting administrator. And as I suggested at a previous hearing, if the White House were to withdraw Mr. Washington and nominate Mr. Nolan, both Mr. Washington and Mr. Nolan are African American. The difference is Mr. Nolan has the experience we should require in that position. If the White House were to withdraw Mr. Washington and nominate Mr. Nolan, I have every confidence that this committee would move that nomination swiftly and that he would be confirmed with a substantial bipartisan vote. And given the importance of keeping the flying public safe, given multiple near misses we're seeing across this country, I believe the White House and this committee should move swiftly to ensure we have a qualified Senate-confirmed leader at the FAA.
Well, thank you, Senator.